Travis Wayne Goodsell. So if you've been paying attention, as there was even commenters attacking me for having such low views and blaming it on my apostasy. Well, if you weren't so evil and criticizing the church, lots of critics get lots of views. And so then all of a sudden, for some weird reason, started getting 150 views per hour on average. Went up and down, and it was weird because I noticed with the low views that there was 1 hour of time that had a massive spike, and I thought that was kind of weird. And then all of a sudden, boom, that what would be normal viewing, should be normal viewing, then all of a sudden kicked off last week for several days. And 3 videos got over 1,000 views. And I was back in normalcy. I mean, it's still nowhere near the 40,000 that I got for the one and only one video of mine that shows that I am a prophet, a seer, a revelator, a translator from the beginning of the latter days. And this is why I was shut down by YouTube. Church immediately panicked. Oh no, Travis is exposing our authority, putting our authority at jeopardy. Get 'em! And so, yeah, YouTube has attacked me this whole time. And there have been other attacks that the church has ordered to eventually get me here. And people who come to just one video of mine are completely clueless about this. And so the video I did Friday that included an American MSNBC news clip, an American MSNBC news clip, which the Fair Use Act grants me access to use an American news clip. But this is how YouTube got me. They programmed their algorithm to misinterpret the American news clip such that French countries ban it as a copyright violation. And so French Guiana, France, all French-speaking countries block it. And so YouTube flagged it as a partial block, as a copyright violation of an American fair use news clip. And boom, views tanked. That's how I've seen it done before. When they banned me from posting videos because they claimed my thumbnail picture on Mother's Day was porn, they shut off my views, and the views got worse because of the ban. There's an instant punishment programmed into YouTube's algorithms as a probationary punishment. And it's causes creators to have to start from scratch to rebuild their viewing. It's a severe punishment. It's an extremist punishment. And so, yeah, you can see the panic of the YouTube Mormon employee to rig the algorithms to cause my American news clip to be banned as a copyright violation in French-speaking countries, and thus triggering the partial ban of my video, and thus triggering the algorithm to treat me as a copyright violator and put me on probation, putting me all the way back down to 5 views per hour rather than the 150 I was building up. It was increasing in preparation for conference in the next 2 weeks. And thus succeeded in silencing me yet again before conference. This is a cyber terrorist attack. It's criminal, and yet it's the common practice that I have had a pattern of on YouTube. As this year being the final year of the latter days, as I knew from my study and my research, putting out the videos for you to help teach you so that you can catch up and understand why before it all hits the fan, and you then wonder, why did this happen? How did this happen? America is the greatest nation in the world. How did we fall? And why are we eating each other? It's because the Book of Mormon prophesied about it, warning us. And it comes from Isaiah. I did the clip with the cute little AI kittens of Trump. Please don't eat us, vote for Trump. Don't let them eat us. All of that is part of Trump's economic plan from Project 2025, with which he now denies that he has anything to do with it. He doesn't know them. He takes pictures with lots of people. Of course he's involved. And so his economic policy is mass deportation. And I did the video where if you follow it through, it leads to a lack of food for restaurants and for the grocery store. And thus, with food scarcity, civil war breaks out as everybody fights for whatever food they can obtain, and with no food left, I get cyber attacked at 9 minutes into the video. See? You see? This also was a part of the change that occurred. I was enjoying doing a couple hours of videos for you with no freezing of the camera. This was only from cyber terrorism. The guy is working on the Sabbath to attack me because it's the weekend where I can't complain. Everybody else is on vacation in authority. And so this is, again, cyber terrorism. You just witnessed it firsthand. Somebody knew my camera was on and sent the signal to freeze the camera. Whereas the 2-hour video that I did the other day, that was them finally figuring out how to bypass and tank my camera without freezing it. And so the audio to visual, after 30 minutes into the video, all of a sudden got bleeped. As YouTube was also trying to shut it down on their end by purposely tanking the video quality. When I was checking the video quality on the original video, it shouldn't have been blurred, and yet YouTube was purposely blurring it every 5 minutes and purposely attacking me. And then boom, I find out that the video had also been attacked through a cyber terrorist on the recording. So yeah, this is what I'm having to deal with this year, guys. And then the big bombshell that I had been covering. A Mormon, thinking the church is true, fully believing, went to church today, has been, trying to get the attention of another YouTube creator who's Mormon, who'd been on a mission, and she was in Las Vegas when Oaks came to her mission and talked with the missionaries out there. This was something the Mormons are not supposed to hear. This was only for the missionaries, a special visit by Oaks. Nobody else was supposed to know about this speech to the missionaries. It wasn't even in the church news. Was not covered. Nobody was supposed to know about it. And Oaks is paranoid. He does not like it when people record him in these extra visits. And so as a result, it got leaked nonetheless by an innocent little girl on her mission, believing the church is true and the living prophet of Jesus is among them, especially for her mission in Las Vegas. Of course they're going to want to know and share the words of a living prophet, despite Oaks forbidding it. And so he says, in March 14th of 2020, this is the beginning of the year, we're hearing rumors going around. Fox News finally tells the truth for one news story. But then, after certain events, that end of the year, especially the next year on January 6th, Fox would then go on to get busted, as Murdoch would get dethroned for it. You don't attack an American election. And yet, Oaks, prior to all of the bleep hitting the fan, came out to the little missionaries in Las Vegas to tell them that it was all a test run. What was about to happen was only just a test, a trial in preparation for the actual performance of the coming of Jesus. So Jesus is the mastermind behind all of mankind's suffering and the coup attempt. Yeah, I call BS, Oaks. It's you. That's what he was confessing to. That the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is the great and abominable church orchestrating the coup of America to overthrow it and destroy the federal government and reign supreme with their kingdom once again. That 2020 was just a test run to see what damage they can cause in preparation for the actual event, assuming that the test run didn't go all the way and give it to them. And I've already been doing the videos. I've already figured it all out. But for these missionaries to be ignorant because of their brainwashing in this church, I was able to get a confession from Oaks, confirming everything that I had figured out for you and had been posting. So the way to perfection was the big bombshell exposing this church. And then Thomas B. Marsh connecting that together. And then the Council for National Policy, the secret combination that's overthrowing the government. All of it tying to the church. The church's plot. I've connected everything to this church. And then Oaks, by the little missionaries who are now returned from their mission now, exposing it and leaking it. Confirming that everything I've been telling you is real and is going to happen this year. And thus is why the attacks on me is escalating this year. The Valentine's Day massacre, the Mother's Day massacre, etc., etc. The blacklisting me, not allowing me video views. No video. I was YouTube for months. I think it was just a couple of months. Had forbidden me from viewing YouTube videos. This video is unavailable. What do you mean it's unavailable? I can see it when I'm not signed in. Purposely, so that I wouldn't trigger the algorithms to get more views. This is what they've been doing a whole year, finding out how to stop me, how to shut me up and silence me so that nobody else knows about what I know to warn you. This is an extremism of an enemy. And it is exceedingly frustrating that my federal government will not step in and stop it. Immediately stop it. Because if you remember, there's been a couple of news stories this year about people who are running tests to try to cause a terrorist attack on America. There's the group of 3 people, I think it was, who were caught by the government plotting to cause a terrorist bombing. And they got caught before being able to carry it out. Somebody had leaked to the government that they were planning this attack and that they were going to do it. And so our government stepped in before they were able to get anywhere to do the attack. And then not too long ago, there was another guy, a Pakistani, who also, that got him in advance for having plotted to attack America. And so then you get these other red flags as a distraction to you for Trump. You know, Trump supposedly had his ear blown off, and yet now it's magically healed. And then another guy supposedly was shooting at Trump's golf course while Trump was golfing. And yet finally it took Canada and Reuters to say there was no gunshots. Canada was interesting because when decades ago, there was the Long Island plane crash. The FBI came out and said that it was not an O-ring failure like the space shuttle that blew up the one morning at school when the teacher brought in the TV screen to let us watch the first teacher in outer space, and we're all watching it, and then boom, we're all traumatized across the nation as kids as we watch live on air for our school program an O-ring failure that blows up a teacher. Dear God, an O-ring failure, huh? But yeah, the Long Island plane crash was something similar to that. They were trying to claim that it was a mechanical failure that resulted in the plane crash and everybody on board dead. And it was Canada, while I was up in Canada with the first wife, when I saw it on the news, and the Canadian press had covered the reporting of an American military officer who was a witness to the plane crash and said he witnessed a flashing light like a missile heading straight for the airplane. And that was the only source of news that I'd heard of that claim. Our FBI said it was a mechanical failure. Just the Canadian news were the only ones who had interviewed an American military soldier who was there in Long Island and had witnessed what he called a missile strike on that airplane. And then there'd be other instances where other people would make claims of a backpack missile that they could just be from the ground and shoot down anything in the air. And then there was the California fires, and people were making the claims that before the fires they were witnessing what they called flying drones. This was before drone technology was even known publicly, claiming that they saw these flying objects with laser beams igniting the fires. And as I witnessed the carnage, I am seeing, having been a firefighter, a burning so severe that it is not a normal forest fire, house fire. I have been involved in putting out house fires. I know the resulting carnage after a house fire. And what I was being shown on the news by multiple news sources was the aftermath. And there's the one postal service worker who, despite the whole neighborhood just being torched to the ground, was still delivering the mail in the mailboxes, so that if those people got out, when they would go back to their homes to see what could be salvaged, their mail would be there waiting for them. And so that made the news, that a mailman was still delivering the mail after that carnage. And yeah, that burning was far hotter than a normal house fire. And so it's these kinds of things that Americans have been suspicious of what's going on. And then we come to find out that there are such a thing as drone technology that are now being used by Ukraine, as we are giving them drones to fight against Russia. And so the technology is not something that we should ignore now. We know that the technology is out there and is available. And so this now brings back questions about what actually happened previously in our history. But yes, for Oakes to confess that he's in charge as the leader of the church, what happened in 2020 is not unexpected by me, because I already figured it all out by going over the history of this church, figuring out the Danites, figuring out their origins, figuring out their financial payment, following the money trail. It all started by studying Carthage jail. You know, my neighbor in West Valley City, who in Sunday school, when I was still going to church because I was married, had to for parents' sake, I was already bored with church after having deciphered Paleo Hebrew. I was now learning more from my scripture studies, having now learned Paleo Hebrew and then going on to learn Egyptian. And so I was picking up just tons of stuff that I had never seen before with the English translations we have. And so to hear the manuals misinform Mormons was frustrating for me. And having been on the footnote committee for the revised footnotes also, you know, it frustrated me. I know what needs to be corrected and the church just will not do it. And so what's the point in going to church for the purpose of learning when I'm already smarter than every single Mormon on the face of the earth and could actually help Mormons with their studies by providing them with better manuals and a better footnoting system to help them understand what's really going on in the scriptures, as well as retranslating the Bible. But I'm not supposed to. I don't have the key of Nephi from Doctrine and Covenants, section 27, verse 5. Only Nelson does. And you're going, wait a minute, no, Travis, it says Moroni. Who has the keys? I have the keys. How do I know it's Nephi and needs to be corrected? Section 43. Do not assume you know better than Joseph. And Mormons, specifically elders, are warned. Anybody else who comes along and says Joseph is wrong, we need to correct him, here's what's really going to happen, you don't listen to them. And yet, Joseph Smith's History, 1838, published finally, because of a certain incident in Liberty Jail, he gets it published in Nauvoo in 1842. And yet, it still gets altered by Willard Richards after Joseph is dead. And so no longer is the name of the Church of the Latter-day Saints. Willard Richards puts in Jesus Christ. Section 115 still had another 35 years left before it would finally get created and published in Brigham Young's final Doctrine and Covenants before he dies. And then went and changed Nephi to Moroni. And so the Royal Skouseners, who are working on the Joseph Smith papers, even though they put in, inserted by Willard Richards, tried to come up with excuses in their footnoting to explain away why the change needed to be made from Nephi to Moroni. No, it's Nephi. And thus, section 27, verse 5, needs to be corrected. Joseph Smith corrected it. But because the 1838 history was never published by Brigham Young, he did not take it with him. It was only because of the mission president in England, another Richards, who put it in as part of a pamphlet to the New Englanders, or to the Englanders, to the Brits, that he brought it to Brigham Zion, and the pamphlet would get published under John Taylor. But Brigham Young wanted nothing to do with any of that. Brigham Young had his kingdom now, and it was going to be run his way. And he was having to fight America to get it back, because it got taken from him the very next year. So, yeah, these kinds of things I had already figured out and was revealing to you. I've got over 8K videos. And if I were to show you my stats for all these years, you would see the abuse of YouTube on me. Because normal people, in the beginning, yeah, they may have some difficulty building a fan base, but eventually they get known and they get a stable viewing for whatever genre they're doing it in. And so for my genre, it was very clear that nobody cared about my foreign language translations on YouTube. That was only for Amazon publication, where that was popular, and on academia. But for YouTube, no, it was discussing criticisms of the church. That's where the big firestorm of views is most popular. And you can see it from Mormons as well as from Exfo Nevermos. And I'm the one who created Exfo as a term. Because Mormons who leave the church like to go around claiming they're an ex-Mormon as a title of privilege. No, ex is not in the sense of a relationship where you break up or get divorced and now your spouse is an ex. No. In the church, there's what's called disciplinary councils, where the most extreme is getting excommunicated. So when you're excommunicated, you are an excommunicated Mormon, thus ex-Mormon. But Mormons who've left the church, and there's 15 million of us, we have not been excommunicated. We were smart enough to go, hey, the church lied to us, I'm out. We don't care to know the truth. We just know the church is lying to us, and so therefore they can't be true. That's as far as the knowledge goes. Except that you get many Mormons who leave the church also doing videos claiming that Joseph Smith is to blame. The Book of Mormon is to blame, as their criticisms are about Joseph Smith as Christian, and the Book of Mormon as literal history. As the critics say, no, Joseph Smith can't be Christian. The Book of Mormon can't be literal history. There's cows in America. Those kinds of things are obvious to anybody who simply does a basic study of the Book of Mormon and of Joseph Smith with his visionary accounts. There was no meeting in Western New York in the years that are claimed in 1838 for the first vision. There was, in a completely different location, several days' ride away from Palmyra, but the claims that Joseph is making in his history, as defined by the Danites, who would go on to assemble Joseph Smith's history and finish it up with some forged documents. Now that he's dead, how is he going to defend himself? And it's Brigham Young's crew that are doing it. Not the Community of Christ, not Sidney Rigdon, not James Strang. No, it's Brigham and his crew that are tampering with Joseph Smith's documents after he's dead. And this should send up red flags to every church historian or ex-fo nevermo who's investigating the church history. And they just expose themselves as stupid. They claim to be historians, publishing books, and so, yeah, they have to talk themselves up to publish their books. And so you get Fawn Brody, who says, oh yeah, I went to the polygamous wives that came with Brigham Young to the valley, and they all confess in their journals that Joseph Smith raped them. Little girls said Joseph Smith raped them, and they were sealed to Joseph Smith. And then Rough Stone Rolling backs it up, and everybody's quoting from other authors who are quoting these women. As I, not too long ago, decided, you know what, let's do a video and cover this Nicolaitan band in section 117, which I already know is a forged document. It's one thing to know that there was polygamy. It's another thing to know that, oh my God, these Danites were passing around their wives. And yet still to this day, because of the Danites' practices, there are still those Mormons that are performing a spiritual passing around of their wives called swinging. And so, yes, those women who claimed rape were being raped by other Danites and didn't bother to tell us this. Instead, they claimed just Joseph. Abominations galore. So, yeah, I intended to cover the Together Forever video clip that I didn't cover, but the church purposely uses the tactic of extremism to scare Mormons to stay Mormon. And we see this on this wider scale when red flag events occur. Because whenever there's a real school shooting, you get Fox News claiming it's a fake news. But the Democrats all rush to demand that we ban guns in America. Despite SCOTUS allowing bump stocks as a freedom right in America, shutting down those deep state Dems who filed the lawsuit because of the recent shootings with bump stocks. And then you get the other shootings that have been occurring in America as, again, the Democrats are trying to shut down guns in America, which is obviously going to trigger MAGA supporters who own guns. And they use that as an extremist excuse to claim that the Democrats are evil and they need to be shut down, trying to take away our constitutional rights and freedoms. And this extremism pits each other to destroy America, as that's the whole plot and plan of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so I see the dangers. I know my Book of Mormon. I've got associative memory. That's why I do so well with footnoting. I'm able to read a scripture and go, oh, yeah, I recall that from that other scripture. And so, yeah, it was cute. Idaho chick reared her head and let me know that she's still alive and that she's still watching. And that she's got a notebook and her scriptures. That's awesome. I didn't realize there were those who had printed scriptures still. But yeah, this is what I was taught to do in seminary. Annotate my scriptures, to mark them all up, to cover up and hide the Word of God. And then Mark Hoffman happened, and then the church was in a panic and forbid everybody to study their scriptures when the September 6th happened in 1993. Okay, no more studying of scriptures. Mark Hoffman got us at the end of the 80s, and then now September 6th. No more studying. Mormons are wicked. They're not studying what we tell them to study. They're not believing the history that we're telling them to believe. And so no more studying. It's now the still small feeling rather than the still small voice. No more do we liken the word unto a seed and plant it to produce the fruit. Nope, you've got a seed, be happy with it. Get the right feeling, you've got the seed, you know everything. Don't produce the fruit. Don't do it. And so, this whole church, because this is their plot to overthrow America, they can't reveal it. It's got to be a secret combination. Secret combinations are so called because nobody's supposed to know about it. And so the Articles of Incorporation by Heber J. Grant in 1923, Mormons did not get informed of it. Mormons believed the church was still true. They were still having Sunday meetings. Clueless, despite Wilford Woodruff's official declaration number 1 that would eventually come out and eventually get published in the Doctrine and Covenants at the end, that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, incorporated by Brigham Young in 1852, not 1838, is gone, dissolved by the United States of America for their perpetual immigration fund violations. Oh, you thought it was polygamy, did you? That's what the church tells you it was for. They lied to you. And so Heber J. Grant, Articles of Incorporation for the corporation of the president. We're not even a church. The leaders of the church are not even leaders of a church. They're corporate board members of a corporation. They don't have authority, obviously, because they didn't succeed Joseph Smith properly. But they're pretending to be religious leaders. Pretending to have Jesus as the Christ of our church, when all they are a business, a corporation. And the corporation makes its money from those who were members of Brigham Young's Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, that was incorporated in 1852 and ceased to exist on the face of the earth by the United States of America in 1887. You are cash cows for this church. And for what? We know they've been hoarding money. The whistleblower exposed that. But the whistleblower also exposed that they've been hoarding the money this whole time for Armageddon. And here it is. Oakes confesses. Yep. 2020 was just a test run. It was an investment to see how far we can go. And then here we go. So I warn you, church is in bed with Islamists. Church is making business deals. They're not talking about the Book of Mormon and sharing the Book of Mormon with Islamists. That's the cover story to fool you. This is a secret combination seeking to overthrow the government, of which I am getting cyber terrorized. I am getting physically abused. I am being tortured. People are trying to assassinate me. And because you believe the church is true, it's all fake news, Travis. Nobody's trying to hurt you. Bleep you. Mormons being kept from the truth lie for the church and deny anybody who reveals something of the truth. And I get people who think I'm just like all the other critics, and I get all the same lines parroted back to me, about how I've left the church, but I can't leave the church alone. That I'm all the same. All of my claims have been debunked. You didn't even listen to the video. Ex-foes don't even believe me. Nobody has debunked anything of mine because all my claims have happened. I am a prophet. I am a seer. I am a revelator. The real revelator of days and hours for the predictions of the future. I am a translator. Mormons know what this means, and they have to deny it because Nelson is, and he denies it. And says, obey me because I'm the title. But I deny the power thereof. And Mormons fall for it. Because he says Jesus. And Mormons don't say it. This is the bondage that the church is holding you under. You are hostage to this church. And your testimonies at church on fast and testimony meetings, your leadership positions to speak what the church wants you to speak, to, be a kiss ass to the church, all of that is designed specifically to read the ransom demands of this church to the public. Just like when a kidnapper holds somebody hostage and does a video for the ransom, as the person is reading from a script or holding up a sign, I am guilty of being hired by America to try to assassinate this innocent Islamic people who only have guns on their flag as a defense, not as aggressors. The American infidels hired me to do this. Pay them the ransom money, or they will chop off my head live on TV. This is Mormons doing this. The church news, all about this ransom demand of the church. Pay us. Your family who are dead are being held hostage. Pay us. You want to get married? Pay her. Pay us for her. You cannot even have thoughts of sex until you pay us and get sealed to one of our daughters in the temple. The church are pimping out Mormon women. The church is still practicing polygamy. The church does not accept civil divorces. The government accepts the sealing marriages, but the church does not accept the government's divorces. You are still sealed to your spouse. You have to get extra permission to get a sealing cancellation. They're still practicing polygamy in violation of the United States of America. So, yeah, there's nothing I can do about it, but that's what Joseph Fielding Smith Sr. said. All of this is code, claiming that Jesus Christ is coming to get the keys of government from Lucifer. And the world will not know of it. The members of the church at large will not know of it. The saints cannot know of it. This is a secret combination. This is a coup. Oaks expected nobody to know of it. And it got leaked. But I had already done all the work. and had presented it for you. And here he is, sealing it with his testimony that it was true. Travis is true. We admit it. What are you going to do about it?